Welcome to the Multiply Your Success podcast, where each week we help growth-minded entrepreneurs and franchise leaders take the next step in their expansion journey. I'm your host, Tom Dufour, CEO of Big Sky Franchise Team. And as we open today, I'm wondering if you have positioned your company or one of your products or services as the first, the best, or the only. And do you know what benefits await for you if you have done that or will do that? And our guest today is Isabelle Mercier, who's the co-founder and CEO of LeapZone Strategies and one of the most inspirational branding, marketing, and customer experience keynote speakers. She's one of North America's top business influencers, best-selling author, two-time TEDx speaker with over 3 million views, which you've got to check out her TEDx talk. It's awesome. I included the show notes. I included the link in the show notes. She's a TV host, and she brings 25 years of branding, marketing, and customer experience expertise. She's helped thousands of business owners, thought leaders, as well as some of the most influential and iconic brands like A&W, Robeez Footwear, Earls Restaurants, IMAX Corporation, and HSBC Investments, just to name a few. You're going to love this interview. It's jam-packed with just practical information to help you through your process and help you to be the first, the best, or the only in what it is you do. So let's go ahead and jump into my interview with Isabelle.
Yeah, my name is Isabelle Mercier. My title is Brand Strategist and Business Growth Catalyst. And company LeapZone Strategies, and we kick some butt with businesses just like yours.
I love it. I love it. Well, just by way of getting us going here, what is a brand strategist and business performance catalyst? What does that even mean?
What does that even mean? You know, we help at LeapZone, we help clients, teams, right? Teams, partnership, brands, businesses. We help them position themselves as the first, the best, or the only. So I look under the hood. I really look at what is the positioning, what is the personality, and what is the performance. That those 3 Ps are part of our LeapZone trifecta of looking under the hood of a company, a franchise, a small, from solopreneur all the way to, mogul companies. But truly, it's about positioning a brand for their ideal clients to say, where the hell have you been all my life?
Yeah, well, and that's a great intro there. And you mentioned this idea about positioning, branding, marketing. These are words that get tossed around, I think, fairly often. And just, I'd love for you, being a subject matter expert here, help just break those down for us to describe what each one actually means and how they're different.
Yeah, branding is a feeling, it's an emotion. It's how people connect to a product, a service, a genius, a brand. So it's about how people feel about something. Tell me, why is it that more than 1 billion people choose to spend over $1,000 on a smartphone, on an iPhone, when there are actually better phones out there for a lot less money, for a feeling, right? So it's an emotional. So branding is how people feel about your brand once they get to know it. Positioning is why they should choose you instead of anyone else, regardless of if you're more expensive or not. Because a lot of people say to me, Isabelle, but my differentiator is that I am cheaper. It's like, well, or less expensive or more affordable. At the end of the day, when you're able to answer, if people had to pay more to choose you, would they, and why would they care? That's positioning. And marketing, those are the actions, the layers and the actions that you take to spread the word, to get known, to be in front of people, because at the end of the day, if they don't know you exist, they can't buy from you.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so thinking of this positioning idea, and I really liked how you described that. So what are ways that if I'm in business, I've worked with successful entrepreneurs pretty much my entire career. And oftentimes these folks that I'm working with, they'll be they may not know exactly why. They know inside, but they can't explain how or why they're doing this. And it sounds like positioning is understanding that may help answer that question. So what are some ways to maybe help discover what that might look like then?
Yeah, and I'll preface this by it's harder when you're in the pickle jar to actually see the calories on the label, right? So at the end of the day, it's good to have a third party that specializes in that to help. And the process is looking at what are the pitfalls in your industry, who are dropping the ball and how are they dropping the ball. So if you were to do a blank sheet of paper divided into a few columns, first column would be what's challenging in your industry. Then the second column would be what's challenging in the lives of your ideal customers. What's their top of mind problems? Because at the end of the day, we know that in every problem, therein lies a solution. But also in every solution, therein lies the next problem, right? So understanding that really makes a difference. And then it's about really understanding, the other column would be understanding what you do as a brand, as a company, what you do extraordinarily well. You know, the common things that you do uncommonly well, or things that is different, how you offer, what you offer, the process of offering, the process of delivering it, whether it's a product or a genius, really understanding what really makes you unique and different. And then you look for links and linking the dots between those things. But ultimately, and I always give this great example. I have this example of this pencil case. And companies have a bunch of things they do well and they do naturally, and it's all part of their brand as the pencil case. My job as a differentiating expert is to actually look at what's there and possibly look at what's missing that could be in the pencil case. But sometimes it's about taking one thing that seems so pedantic to you, but to your industry would be a game changer. And I'll give you an example of that. We worked with an engineering firm. And I talk about engineers because it's a bit of a necessary evil. Nobody really goes, yeah, I need myself an engineering firm today, you know? But what they did, and for 60 years, they never had an X factor. And now, as we were talking in a strategic retreat, I had them talking, and then they were saying how they don't charge for errors and omissions, where that's a big problem in the industry. Is there's a lot of errors and omissions. And of course, the client pays for that because companies can't foresee everything. Of course, I get it, right? But they're like, in passing, they're like, yeah, we don't have our clients pay for errors and omission, but that, who cares? Let's move on. And I'm like, no. Let's talk about that. So their X factor is zero cost uncertainty. Now we've refined that. But if you were to hire an engineering firm and it'd be $1 million and playing Russian roulette, or $1,250,000 and it's for sure no uncertainty of errors and omission, which one would you go with? Right? So sometimes the key is to really look at what you're already doing well that you could reposition differently in order for people to go, yeah, I've been looking for this all my life. Meanwhile, it was there all along for you. It was just not known as such. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes a ton of sense. That's really helpful. And so as I love this pencil case example that you used. It helps really just visualize what you're describing. Yes. So it makes me think about the beginning statement, or early on here for the first part of the interview, when you talked about being the only, or some of those differentiators. And I forgot the phrase exactly for the three pieces you talked about.
The first, the best, or the only.
Right. The first, the best, or the only. So talk through those three and the difference between them, and maybe a couple examples.
Yeah, I mean, some companies have positioned themselves as the first. Like, before FedEx, there was no overnight delivery, right? Jake Burton basically invented the sport of snowboarding. That was the first. Domino's, before Domino's, there was no home delivered pizza. So these are companies who have actually, positioned themselves as the first. A company, an example as the only, when it's the only, it's either your own technology or, so if you know the company Tefal, right, the non-stick pans, they didn't say, we have the best non-stick pan, because there's a lot of bests out there. And of course, the best are described by themselves, oh, we're the best. But they went, you know what, we're going to invent a non-stick pan, and we're going to call it Teflon. We're going to invent a technology, we're going to name it, and we're going to apply it to how to position ourselves. So now it's about, but these other non-stick pan, are they Teflon, or do they have the Teflon technology? No. Then I want to go with Teflon, because Teflon is proven to be the best non-stick pan surface, right? So that's an example of the only. So you might be the only at offering a specific service a specific way. You might be the only at having a particular process, matrix, or unique methodology. You can't don't just have a methodology and think, I have a methodology, but it's kind of internal. We don't talk about it. You don't need to plaster it on your website, but name it, give it a life, give it an entity, especially for people. I know that your community is a lot about franchising, being able to really understand why I should buy your product or your service over anybody else. That is a massive multiplier for being able to multiply stores, brands, right? So it's really important to be clear on that and be able to, second of all, well communicate it. Some people are fairly clear about it, but don't know how to communicate in a way that people go, man, I feel like you bugged my house, and that's precisely what I need.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned this concept of franchising. And so one of the things that in preparing for our interview that kind of got me thinking was when you was thinking about how business owners differentiate themselves. So there's kind of this brand with the organization, and then there's usually the founder, or kind of this person who is kind of tied to the brand, but also has their own kind of personality. So I'm just curious how that applies to what we've been talking about with branding and positioning and marketing. And then the next layer underneath of that, in a multi-site or a multi-unit or a franchise type scenario that has all of these independent owners plus one kind of parent brand, it's kind of this unique thing. So I'd just be curious to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's why the brand foundation, internal mission, which is not a mission statement. Mission statements, actually, it's a swear word at LeapZone. The F word isn't though, but mission statement is. So we don't care for mission statements. Employees don't care for mission statements. Every time I look under the hood and I interview an employee and I say, what's the mission statement of the company? They always go, I don't know. It's written somewhere on the website, right? How good is that? But any large company like Disney, for example, their internal mission is to leave people feeling the magic. It's all about magic. So when you wait 2 hours in line for a roller coaster, you don't really feel like you're waiting because it's all part of the magic, right? So for a franchise, any company for that matter, but the franchise specifically, understanding how their franchisees will actually deliver on the brand DNA, be it the energetic mission, the brand promise. What does the brand promise? What is the X factor? What's the unique differentiator of this particular brand? And then what is the personality of the brand? I totally understand that owner one has a different personality than owner two. But at the end of the day, it's owner one and owner two have their own personal brand, hopefully of accountability, trust, and all of that good stuff. However, it is about bringing to life and keeping into life a brand that has been established, that has a manifesto, that has a set of rules to actually live by. And that's what we do at LeapZone is we help companies and teams not just understand the brand foundation and clarify it, but live it internally, build a culture that is designed and that wants to live what this brand is meant to actually have their clients experience, right? So everybody's got their own brand, but when you are part of an umbrella, you can bring some of your goodness of your own personal brand to the actual brand. And it's about how to live that particular brand foundation.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. And certainly, as I'm listening to you describe this, it reminds me a lot of you are describing how franchising, I think, is running at its optimal pace, where there's this common thread with the same brand and general purpose. And yet each owner, each leader of their own franchise is bringing in their own unique characteristics that kind of are unique to that owner and that location and that local creation of it. I think that's wonderful.
And I think this is why earlier I shared the 3 Ps, right? Positioning, personality, performance, especially in franchising. You need to be positioned appropriately and strategically and uniquely, and most importantly, my favorite word, potently. But then it's about the personality of the team, the personality of the overarching brand. What does the brand demand as a whole? And then it's about performance. How do we duplicate, replicate, and leverage and scale the things that need to be done in order to deliver effectively? So yeah, positioning, personality, performance, that's the base of all successes in business. And of course, within these 3 Ps, there are 8 key areas for growth, from money and KPIs and culture and brand and strategy and vision and efficiency and organization, technology, all these things. That's part of our X factor, actually. It's part of our LeapZone trifecta. And it all has to stem from what is the brand? What is the experience that we're providing as a team? And how can team one what can they add to what's already been created in order to make it even better and somewhat differentiated with it, because each owner has a different past, different experience, and so on.
Great. Well, you have a saying that says, do not speak to the whole jungle. So what do you mean when you say that?
Yeah, a lot of people are afraid of niching and being very clear about their markets. And I've noticed this at whatever stage, whatever size of business. Of course, the more mature business, that fear is a little different than a smaller entrepreneur. However, it's when you speak to a particular client. So I'll use the jungle. If you said, "Hey, animals, I have something great for you." Animals are like, "Well, you know what? I can't. There's no egoic label here. There's nothing for me to go, that's me, But if I want to work with lions and I have something unique that makes the lions' lives better, then I need to be able to say, "Hey, lions, I know exactly what your problem is or your problems. I have an amazing solution. Here's a pedal. When you click on this pedal, the door opens and there's food for your cubs, no matter when," right? So if you say, "Hey, lions," boom, lions start listening. You might get a few giraffes, and that's okay. But if you speak to the whole jungle and you position an offering the same way to lions as giraffes as mice, you're going to have a problem. And speaking to the whole jungle means you better have deep pockets and for marketing that won't bring a lot of results. Whereas it's okay to have different animals that you're speaking to in the jungle, but you can't speak to each the same way. You can sell them the same product if the same product is helpful for all, but you can't communicate it in the same way for everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Isabelle, this is a great time for us to transition here.
Okay.
And we ask every guest before they go the same 4 questions. And the first question we ask every guest is, have you had a miss or 2 along the way and something you learned from it?
Oh, I have definitely had more than 1 misses, but You know, one miss, I have my business partner is also my life partner. And one of the myths in business midway through, I mean, we've been in business together for 30 years now, but it was the putting too much emphasis on the business responsibilities versus our couple and our personal life. So at some point, business took over to a point where we were actually probably going to leave each other. And what we learned is this lesson, which is we have to put ourselves as importantly as our business. And it was heavily weighted on the business side because, you know, we're responsible human beings. We want to impact, we want to help, we want to make life better. We forgot that we needed to do that for ourselves as well. So that's definitely a miss. And another miss that I've done more than once actually is hire fast and fire slow, which should be the opposite. You should hire slower and fire as soon as it's not working. I'm not saying, you know, I'm not giving chances and I'm not, you know, training. I'm not talking about that type of fast, but and one of the lessons that I learned from that is it's better to have an empty seat, an empty position than the wrong person in that position. So, I mean, there's plenty more, but these are two that come to mind.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that. And the next question really is the opposite. So you've shared some great successes here, but have there been other makes that you'd like to share that have occurred in your career or personally?
Yeah, back in 2000 and I don't remember, 5, I think. We had been in business for 13, 14 years already, and it was a branding agency. And it was a very service-driven based business, which we call at LeapZone genius-based businesses as a model. And we were told that we weren't going to be able to sell because it was heavily based on both of our personalities. And I thought, well, I'm a positioning expert and a branding expert. So if I can't do that, nobody can. So we did successfully sell our business in 2005. We took a year off. We traveled the world. And I was able to prove a whole lot of people wrong, which is good. So that's definitely one of them. Another one I would say is early on in our business, we had the opportunity to work with Disney. And we actually declined the opportunity of working with them, which was very nerve-wracking and nail-biting, lots of tears to make that decision. But, we were going to be on retainer, not that there's anything wrong with retainer, but one of their clause was basically, you have your own business, but when we need you, you have only eyes for us. And I thought I didn't start a business so that I would be kind of a slave to someone, to a company. So we decided to decline that opportunity, to the demise of a lot of people in our lives going, oh my God, these girls are crazy. This was their big break. But the biggest thing I learned is you're in business to do it your way. And for every limitation, there's better opportunities out there. You just need to be able to decipher what's an opportunity that is in alignment with your brand and what isn't. And so that required us to really get clear on what we want, what we don't want, as well as having the guts to follow it. Because that's one thing to know it, another thing to have the guts and the courage to follow it.
Oh yeah, that when you're at that crossroads and you have to make that choice, and you know what it is, that choice is going to be a challenge. So that's very commendable. I know those are very, very difficult situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the next question we ask every guest is, have you used a multiplier to grow yourself or your business as you've been in operation?
Yes. There are a few multipliers that have been really pivotal for us, and also for our clients. One of them is to treat our business like a multi-million-dollar client. it's very easy to set yourself aside, your business aside. How many businesses do you know that, have a lot of clunky wheels, but they're always working brilliantly at delivering their products and services to their ideal clients. So we are a client. So LeapZone is a client of LeapZone. We invest a lot of time working on our business. And when a client needs something, I don't automatically put my client in front of LeapZone as a client. It's not an automatic that I'll go, this client needs me. This is just my stuff. I'll work on that with my team another time. I literally treat LeapZone like it is one of the best client of LeapZone, so that I give my company the love, the attention, and the genius that it deserves in order to be able to deliver more of my genius to our clients. Right? So that's definitely one of them. And the other one is having the discipline to decipher between the vital few and the trivial many. Because in life, there's a billion trivial manys, and usually they take a lot. There are other people's urgencies. There are urgencies, what we think is urgent and important. When you're very clear about where you're going, what your priorities are for the year, for the trimester or quarter, and for the week, it's a lot easier to decipher between vital few and trivial many. And there's a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Literally one of the best books. Anybody should, in business, in life for that matter, but in business for sure should read this book.
Well, and Isabelle, the final question we ask every guest is, what does success mean to you?
Success for me is when I have the freedom of time, the freedom of energy, freedom of genius to create the impact that I want to create with generosity. So basically it's feeling fulfilled and satisfied with what I'm doing and having a lot of freedom. And one of my biggest core value is freedom. So the freedom to say yes or no to whatever is in alignment with me in the moment, but mainly the freedom to help give back and impact however I want that to be, right? And so freedom would be my definition of success. And it's funny because I have many tattoos, but one of them here says happiness, but you could easily change that for success. But happiness is when what I think, what I say, and what I do are in harmony. And I practice that every day. Every day, my goal is to what I think, what I say, and what I do to be in alignment. It's a lot harder. It's a lot easier said than done, but it's something that keeps me honest, keeps me real, and keeps me present.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great quote, a great way to close this out here today. And before we go, is there anything you were hoping to maybe share or talk about?
Well, we have at LeapZone, we have our own entrepreneur retreat center where this is what we do. We look under the hood of businesses, brands, teams, cultures. And I would invite your community to come and have a look on our website and learn a little bit more about what Trailblazers does and how we create massive impact and help you create massive impact. And on that website, let me tell you, Tom, there is a ton of absolute free awesomeness. Leap TV is my online TV show, absolutely free, great information. And of course, we also have a couple of TED Talks that are absolutely worth watching. And I'm not just saying this because they're my TED Talks. I've been told by over 3.5 million people. So maybe there's something to it.
Well, Isabelle, this has been a phenomenal interview. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful for you to be here.
I am very grateful. And you know what? I love what you do. I love who you serve. And I would welcome the opportunity to come back and deepen any of these conversations with you anytime.
Isabelle, thank you so much for a fantastic interview. And let's go ahead and jump into today's 3 key takeaways. So takeaway number 1 is when Isabelle talked about thinking of your business as a pencil case and thinking about all the different kinds of markers, pens, pencils that might exist that is your business. Maybe it's your products, services, your staff, your team, your marketing assets, other things like that. And there are a lot of different kinds of pens and pencils in there. And she said, think about what you are doing and doing well and bring attention to that to your customers, specifically as the first, the best, or the only. So when you dig into your pencil case, be thinking about, are we the first to have this kind of pen? Are we the best of this kind of pencil? Are we the only kind of marker for this type of product or service? And just by way of example for our own business, we're the only company in our field that can offer the franchise blueprint. That's a trademark name of ours. That's a unique identifier. We're the only franchise consultant that can offer that. So what is there that might apply for your business? Takeaway number 2 is to treat your own business like a multi-million-dollar client. I thought that was brilliant when Isabelle described that. And to me, it's the quintessential shoemaker's kids have holes in their shoes. So are you treating your own business the same way you treat your customers or your clients? Are you treating it the same way? And if you're not, you may want to re-examine that, as Isabelle described how she shifted her focus to do that and put that equal amount of attention onto her company. And takeaway number 3 is when Isabelle gave a great phrase to not speak to the whole jungle. I thought that was a great phrase. And she talked about the 3 Ps of positioning, personality, and performance. Positioning, personality, and performance. And you can think about that to really focus on who you're speaking to in that jungle. Like she described, are you talking to elephants or tigers or mice? You may very well be selling the same products or services, but it needs to be said or communicated differently with a unique message to each of those audiences. And now it's time for today's win-win. So today's win-win is when Isabelle said and read, it was actually a tattoo she read from that's on her arm, and it said, happiness is when what I think, what I say, and what I do are in harmony. I thought that was a beautiful close. And to me, that's something that if you can get alignment there in those areas and with what you think, with what you say, and what you do, when those are in alignment, that is going to make you and your life better. It will absolutely make the life of those you serve better and the community that you live in, your business, your family, your friends, and all of the others you're impacting on a day-to-day basis. And so that's the episode today, folks. Please make sure you subscribe to the podcast and give us a review. And remember, if you or anyone you know might be ready to franchise their business or take their franchise company to the next level, please connect with us at bigskyfranchiseteam.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to having you back next week.